people are always curious about my height. So being 6'8", people always like put glasses on, put a camera on your head, like show us what your perspective is from your height, right? And I don't necessarily mind it. I will tell you that like for me, my height is like not like I love it now, but I did not always love it. And I think that's maybe partially because I got tall so fast. So being 6'8" at 14, like, and I was like 5'10" when I was 10 years old, and then it was like a matter of 3 to 4 years before I reached 6'8" and I was done growing tall. Like there was this like it made me stand out that much more. And I stood out, but it felt like that in that standing out, there were so many other things that I stood out for that I didn't like and that I felt like to a certain point I made it got bullied and made fun of and teased for that I did not like my height. I didn't like having to stand out that much more already. Like my parents didn't have a lot of money, so usually my sister or one of my older siblings, which all my siblings are not all of them, but my older siblings are all 18 plus years older than me. They would be usually buying our clothes. And it was me, my sister, my nieces, they were buying all our clothes. So like we didn't get a lot. And I didn't fit into much. So automatically, kids are gonna make fun of you about that. So like I didn't have swag. I was a very sheltered kid. My parents were super Christian, so like there's a lot of stuff I didn't know, so I couldn't really join conversations about stuff. I was also very nerdy. I was a very intelligent, intellectual kid. Like I was the kid when I was younger that would always raise my hand to answer questions. So like you have to understand, there's my tallness, but there's all these other things that make me stand out that I was getting made fun of. And so like I just grouped the tallness in with all that stuff. It's like, man, this stuff is not working for me. Like I'm not getting no girls. I remember I made a conscious decision to literally change my name. Like everybody calls me Tyrone, but my family calls me Chris. I don't like the name Chris because early on in my life, that's what I went by because that's what my family called me. It's my nickname. And Chris became associated with like this more inferior me that was very nerdy, that didn't get girls, like that people always talked about, that was scary. Like I'm talking about in my first fight, I think I had my first fight. Like, I was young, but like I was so scared. I was scared to death. And so there was all these traits I associated with myself that I didn't like, and the tallness got fitted right into those traits, along with those traits, because the tallness made me stand out and made people notice me that much more, and that always scared me because I was like, they're gonna figure me out. They're gonna make fun of me too. And so like I threw the tallness in there, so I didn't like my tallness. I did everything I could to try not to be as tall as I was. Like I would like hunch over really really bad so that I could seem like I was shorter. There was just all kind of things that I did like just to seem shorter, and it didn't matter because when you're 6'8", bro, even when you hunch over, you still gonna be 6'6", 6'5". I'm still huge compared to everybody else. So like, and then it's not like there's other people that are my height that I could like really talk to like understand what their experiences are. Like I'm kind of living this almost in a vacuum most of the places I go. And my family moved a lot. We moved like every year. I was at new schools all the time in different cities, in different states. So like I'm always this new kid. I'm always this super tall kid. I'm this very nerdy kid, very talkative, very goofy kid, and I'm getting made fun of for all of it. And so I didn't like my height for a long time. Um, I got grown. Well, actually, I started playing basketball, and I think basketball is where I kind of began to brace my height somewhat because everybody told me I should play basketball, and so that's why I play basketball. I was never really passionate about basketball, but everybody told me I should. And what ended up making me go as far as I did with basketball is because in eighth grade, I actually had teammates say like he's tall for nothing, like he can't do nothing, like he got all this bounce, like I could dunk. I could dunk very early on. I think I was dunking in like middle school, like maybe sixth, seventh grade. I was athletic, but I didn't understand the game of basketball. I had no passion for it, so I never really studied it. I just started playing because everybody told me I should. And so getting made fun of that is really what ended up making me be like, I'm gonna prove y'all wrong. Like I'm gonna go further than any of y'all. And that's really what propelled me to like be able to go play professional basketball. But other than that, in my height in and of itself, sometimes felt like a burden more than anything. Like adults thought I was older than I was, so they always treated me like I should be acting older. My mom oftentimes came up to the schools to get on the teachers to tell them that he's the same age as every other kid in his class. Do not treat my child differently, which I'm very thankful to my mom because she knew what it felt like. My mom was 5'11" and a half. She's shrinking now because she's older, but she grew very early on too, so she knew what I was dealing with. Now, not necessarily to the extent I was dealing with it, because my mom, granted, she is much taller than the average woman. she still wasn't quite like a whole foot taller than the average woman, the way I'm a whole foot taller than the average man. And so there were certain things that like they understand. Now, granted, I think in a weird way, people admired my height. I just don't think people knew how to quite say that as often as they should. Usually they said things that like led me to believe I should be playing basketball, or I was a waste of height, or I should be doing this with it, or I should be able to get all these girls because I was tall. And it's just like nobody seemed to be interested in me for who I was. They just seemed to be interested in my height. And so I didn't really like my height for a long time. And then I got grown, and I kind of went on this whole journey of like learning to love myself, becoming self-aware, like getting to know myself in other ways. Like I knew some things about myself, but I wanted to like really get to know myself and really learn to love myself. And I did, and then that was an interesting journey, and that's where I started really embracing my height, and embracing the other parts of me as well, and not worrying about what people thought about me. And I think one of the best lessons I learned was like most people aren't your friend. Like, and that probably was one of the greatest things for me. Is like I'm not one of those people who tries to make friends with a lot of people. I have a few friends and I'm fine with them. Um, but I do understand like my height elevates me in status in people's mind. And so there's certain ideas and perceptions they have of me that automatically like they kind of put on me automatically. And I understand it now. And I'm not mad at them because it's like a lot of people look at my height, 6'8", and they're like, oh my God, if I had your height, man, I'd be in the NBA. If I had your height, I'd be able to pull all kind of girls. If I had your height, I'd be able to do this, this, that. Like, and I get it. Like, there's a certain amount of in society that being tall comes with certain status. You're more intimidating because you're big. Like, you have longer arm reach. Like, everything is just like that much more grandiose on a tall person, especially when you're like 6'8" like me. And as I begin to understand how society looked at me, which I didn't understand when I was younger, I understood why people said what they did. And I learned to forgive them. Because it's like ultimately for me, my height is one of those things is like I've been this height so long, it's very regular to me. Like, yes, like people want me to put camera on my head and I don't want to do it because like for some reason it feels demeaning. But at the same time, I get it. Like most people don't know what it feels like to when you walk down the street to be able to see over everybody's head. Like, yes, I see on top of everybody's head. Like nothing, almost nothing misses me. I see everything. I can see every person. If I'm at the club, standing on the wall, I can see everybody walking around. I can see everybody. I can see what you're doing. I can see the girl that's trying to get closer to me. I can see the dudes that might be mean mugging me because they want to try me. I can see the people who want to come and say something to me. That give me the little odd looks because like when people looking at a tall person, bruh, I know who you're looking at. There's nobody else around you could be looking at. You're not looking at the painting on the wall. I know you're looking at me. And so yes, it makes it easy for eye contact. There's all kind of things that there are a lot of perks that come with being tall. I'm not gonna lie to you, like, but it's one of those things. Is like ultimately, it's sort of how like rich people talk about having money and how they make it seem so normal and it's not a big deal. And sometimes they like tell people like, nah, you don't even really want this life. And people like, how you gonna tell me what I don't want? It's like that's what it's like when you have certain privileges. You don't always realize it. And that's sort of what it is been like for me being 6'8". Now, granted, I love my height now. I have no problems with my height. I embrace my height fully now. But when I was younger, that wasn't necessarily the case. And this is really my story and my perception of my height. Like, there are people who love their height. And there may be somebody who got tall early like me who loves their height and doesn't have the same story. Every tall person is going to have a different story, right? So it's just one of those things. But I thought I might go ahead and share with you guys because so many people are always, like, amazed by my height. And I think I've shared a shorter video before about like, you know, how I wasn't crazy about my height, but I decided to go with a longer one. I'm just in the mood to make content, so I decided to go a long one. But for the other tall people, feel free to share your experiences, your stories. For anybody who's not tall, if you have questions for me, I'll gladly answer them. I'm not going to take offense to them. I really just don't like when people try to tell me what I should be doing with my height because how you going to tell me what to do in my life just because of a certain trait I have. Anyway, this video is getting too long. It's almost 10 minutes and it's going to cut off anyway. I'll catch y'all. Let me know what questions y'all have.